Welcome back to the channel. This video is an update on Bitcoin as we're seeing the smart money selling their BTC. We'll look at support levels where we could expect them to buy back up in preparation for another move to test the upside of 46K. Also, the long, medium, and short-term outlooks for Bitcoin, as this is confusing some investors at this point in time. Also, the volatility in the markets as we await the Fed news coming up in the next couple of weeks. And also NFTs are beginning to get their negative sentiment, but it could just be a short-term pullback. So before we dive into this massive video, like, subscribe, and share it with a friend if you find some value from it. Let's dive in. A quick look at the cryptocurrency total market capitalization sitting at 1.87 trillion. So still healthily above the 1.8 resistance that we were looking at. In terms of the Bitcoin values, we can see that it's pretty similar to what it has been the last couple of days. Luna is still up. Atom is gaining a little more ground again, which is a good sign for the altcoins for March, looking at yesterday's video, and Near is also up as well. So I'll show you exactly what I'm looking for in terms of a trade later in this video. As for the Fear and Greed, it's dropped to 33, down from 39, and the previous day was up in the 50s at around neutral. And of course, this is probably on the back of Bitcoin falling from those tops, getting that little bit of a rejection, but I think we're in store for a new support level before we can move higher. So we're looking for those higher swing lows. Before we get to Bitcoin, the Bitcoin dominance has recently broken through the 50% level. So that's at 43%. I like that as a sign of strength to Bitcoin. And if we can get more funds flowing into Bitcoin, build it some strength, and then potentially get a few altcoins popping off as well. But I think we might be a little way from that point, and I'm not getting overly excited for too many alts as I showed in yesterday's video. Just have a few there that I'm looking at. As for BTC and the smart money selling, Michael did a fantastic video on this yesterday. I'll leave a link to this at the end of this video as well, so you can check that out. Essentially, we are looking at the volume bars here on the short-term time frame, and we could see this as it started to approach $46,000, as it has done multiple times before, and we're expecting a rejection from this point. So essentially, I use this like the news. The news, well, the charts are telling us the news before it happens. We're getting a rejection at 46. That is expected. And we're looking for a support level, of course, at around our 50% point, which is about that $41,000 level. And that 41K level is also support back in January. And of course, $40,000 as well is where we got that first rejection before we punched up to $45,000. So anywhere back to these levels is pretty stable and balanced sort of market. Just looking for this to then consolidate and then attempt that 46K again. If it does happen, we fall down to around that $40,000 level, that would then be another higher low. So that's looking pretty bullish for Bitcoin, I think, in the medium term. The short term, of course, that has been bearish. This is the very short term, looking at that 4-hour chart. The market has been down, but because I have that understanding of the market getting rejected, just like you guys can see that as well when it comes to these rejection levels at around that 45, 46K, it's no surprise to see the market pull back, correct, potentially take some profits, consolidate, and then move back again to test that 46K level. So where exactly have the smart money been selling? Well, you can see this bar right here lines up with the big volume, and then the market was unable to push any higher. It attempted it one last time. You can see that we got up to 45,400. Again, big volume coming in on these spike bars, but the closes were low. The market price didn't push any higher. And then you can see the market start to sell off, break down from this area. And then again, more volume. We're looking down here at the bottom, which means there's more players flowing into the market to sell off their cryptocurrency. So here was the first, here was the second big sell. Then we had the third big sell, and the money has continued to push away from this point, probably taking profits after they punch the market up. So that's all it's doing at the moment. We're going between different levels here of $38,000 and $45,000, getting that swing between buying up low, selling at resistance levels backwards and forwards. Now, the smarter money doesn't necessarily mean institutional only, because the institutions are playing against each other. The smart money is just a term for where the money ends up at the end of the day, whoever has the biggest profits. It looks as though the Fed is going to continue with rate hikes. However, they're not going to be as big as we first thought, which is probably what dropped the market over the last several weeks. And now we're seeing the market bounce back from that because they're readjusting for less interest rate hikes. So the money markets now predict fewer than 6, whereas before it was more than 6, 25 basis points Fed rate hikes total this year. Regardless of how many rate hikes we have now or later, we're still in the midst of the mid-cycle slowdown and we're slowly coming out of that section. We're following the 18.6 year property cycle, which is looking to peak in around that 2026 timeframe. Could be a little earlier, could be a little later, but we're still many years off that. The main thing to note here is in 2022, it is going to be a volatile year, and we're already seeing that in crypto, we're seeing it on the stock markets, and at the moment, real estate is finally just having a slight cool down at this point after the last 2 years going up 20, 30, in some cases more than 40%, depending on which area you're in. And so we're looking at this year as being that time where the market has that higher low, that pullback, some people take profits, and then we start to reaccumulate for this next stage of the macro cycle. NFTs also are looking like they're on the dip. Monthly NFT buyers dip below 800,000 as searches fall off a cliff, but this could be on the back of January being such a massive month. So my thoughts on this are that we're probably going to start to see a little bit of that negative sentiment within the NFT space. Not necessarily anything bad with NFTs or that we need to worry about them going to zero, but it's time for profit taking, which I think is what's coming from a lot of these headlines as well. And we're also seeing it from the SEC. So more of these headlines coming out, SEC scrutinizing NFT marketplaces over illegal crypto offerings. Regulators are probing whether some of these assets are securities. So we've seen NFTs go for massive amounts, and then they're getting fractionalized, and then people are buying those fractionalized NFTs, which could potentially be securities in the eyes of the SEC. So I think that's also part of the narrative shift for 2022 after such massive years in NFTs of 2021. Treasure Marketplace also tells users to delist NFTs after an exploit, but they said they will cover all of the costs. So some people have been having their NFTs stolen on this marketplace over the last few days. Again, more headlines that I look at that are just leading towards that negative sentiment towards NFTs. Some people are calling it FUD, and YouTube is putting out different sorts of FUD. Honestly, I'm so much smaller than a Google trend search for NFTs. Sure, I can contribute to it with headlines that I have in video titles, but I think to go down that train of thought saying it's YouTubers that are doing this sort of thing, I think it's a little bit naive to believe that. Looking at NFTs in terms of the search volume, January 21 had massive search volume, some of the biggest volume it's ever had, and we're now about 70% down from that high. So it's been coming for the last 6 or so weeks. If we're ever going to get a spot Bitcoin ETF, it's hopefully or probably going to come from Grayscale. However, they're having a few problems with the negative premiums of their crypto trust products. So some of their crypto trusts like Litecoin, Horizon, and Zcash are in the negative. So you can basically buy these cryptos cheaper through Grayscale Trust than you can in the open market. However, you'll have to hold them there and then obviously sell them back to people who are also buying them at discounts. So it's not really an easy way to go and get discounts on these cryptos, but they're going to need to show that their products, their trusts, are in line with the market. In my opinion, of course, you'd want to see that before they can actually get a stable product like a Bitcoin spot ETF. So DCG, Digital Currency Group, which is the parent company of Grayscale, is fronting $250 million to buy back some of these trusts to hopefully bring those prices back up so they're out of these negative premiums. Yesterday, we looked at altcoins for March, and I'm looking for a specific sort of pattern when it comes to these altcoins, especially when the market is down. I prefer to trade on a momentum swing. I'm not looking to buy the absolute low or sell the absolute top. I just want to take a chunk out of the middle because I just want more Bitcoin, more Ethereum, and more fiat currency to use in the everyday life, right? So I don't care where that chunk comes from. It doesn't need to be from the exact low or the exact top. It honestly doesn't matter. And this sometimes confuses people. They're looking to buy the absolute low on altcoins and sell the absolute top. So this was yesterday's video here, top altcoins for March. I have a few altcoins written in there, and I'll look at one of those today as well. So one of them was Atom, but in terms of the pattern that I'm looking for, we know altcoins tend to shoot up and they just take off. And then now that a lot of people are seeing, which we knew from 2017 and how penny stocks and small cryptocurrencies tend to behave, they basically dump almost all the way back down to the lows. Some of them will hold up just above the lows, and others, they'll go through the lows. You know those things are pretty damn weak. And so the pattern that I'm looking for here is for the market to come back up and test some of these higher prices. And so that sort of looks like this over the long term. The thing is, a lot of people saying you need to buy these lows. Everyone wants to buy the dip, but once you buy all of those dips, your average price is still somewhere out here. So it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. You honestly don't know until after the fact. What I'm waiting for is the market to break back above some of those tops which were rejected on the way down. So I want to see the market come back and test these prices to know whether the weak hands are gone and the strong hands are coming in. Only from that point do I get more confident that I want to be getting into this altcoin, because it has the potential to go up and test the next level. And the next level, or maybe the all-time high again. You honestly don't know. So as long as there's enough gap, there's enough profit in here to justify the downside risk, which might be underneath these major lows, then I like the look of that trade. I don't want a trade that is only sort of one for one. You know, I get profit to the upside the same or equal to the downside. I want more upside potential than downside potential. And that's what I look for in a lot of these cryptos. And the pattern kind of looks like Wall Street cheat sheet. You know, people are buying these dips all the way down. It's gone through December, January, February, all the way down, 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 down. And then they're in the depression. And then the disbelief rally comes and looking for that higher low. By this stage, most people are absolutely worn out. They don't have any more funds, and their average price is probably somewhere well above the market at that point. So this disbelief rally is noted on the breakout of those previous highs. So you can see these little highs here that have been rejected. That's the trigger for a good trade for my own trading plan. Now, looking at Atom, this is up 60% from that low. But how do you know that this was going to be the final low, or we'll see further lows? Not a bad looking bar pattern on its own. It's above the previous low. That's looking okay. But now it started to break some of these tops, and you can already start to see this. This is kind of like a mini lesson within this video here, looking at the update of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. You're seeing this market break through. That looks good. You can see these tops broken through. Now, where does this come back to? That's the key question. Does it come back and form a lower high and start to fade? Or does it hold up at these levels or hold up at the next higher low and start to break out again? That's the key. That's the key to know, am I in a strong crypto after it's shown first signs of strength, or am I in a weak crypto where it falls, bounces to lower highs again? This is the major thing that I look for my trading. I'm not interested in buying the exact low and selling the exact top. I just need to take a healthy chunk out of the middle, turn those profits over, and move into a different cryptocurrency. I understand that strategy isn't for everyone. It takes a lot of patience to wait and see for the confirmations to start to form themselves, and then get the breakout for the further confirmations. And it just depends how much of the middle you're willing to take. Some people it's not enough, others it's a lot. So it really just comes down to your own plan and how you want to put that together. Of course, you can check out Patreon, where we talk a lot about our trading plans. The link is in the top of the description. Otherwise, I'll see you at the next video, and thank you for the likes and subscribes if you found some value from the content. See you guys at the next video. Until then, have more fun to get more done.